Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. Today I want to talk about self-care and how I practice self-care as a minimalist. Now I do have to say I am not a person that likes face masks or going to a hair salon or doing any of these very classical things. But I do want to say that of course there's nothing wrong with these things, and self-care is practiced best if it serves you and if it helps you live a good life that you are happy with, if it helps reducing stress, and if it just does what you want it to do. So all of the habits I want to share with you today are free or almost free and can be done with different time budgets as well. So these are the habits and things I do because I'm a minimalist, because they suit my lifestyle. But of course that does not mean that they have to be the right things for you. I think when we talk about self-care, we have to talk about our body, like outer self-care, but also our minds. I think it's very important to consider both of these things as very important when it comes to looking after ourselves. And so I want to start with the things that I do for my body, that I like to do, that feel good, that make me happy. And with self-care, I really think we should all just take the approach of doing more what makes us happy, more what's good for us, and reducing the things that are very stressful. Of course, always as long as it's possible, because I think all of us have things in our lives that we don't love to do, but we just have to do because they are part of life. So let's start with the first thing that I like to do for my body, and that is actually taking hot and long showers. Now, I don't really know if it's even super healthy. I think it's not unhealthy, but it just makes me happy. It's of course good to clean your body every now and then. And so taking a shower is something that it's necessary in general, but I like to at least have a bit of time so that I don't have to rush. I don't like showering cold, even though I know a lot of people do love that and do that for themselves and feel like it's bringing them value. I choose to shower pretty warm and I enjoy that. I do also like to take my time and not rush it, just to be able to think a bit under the water and to just have time for myself, for my body, and that is what I do. Another thing that I think is very important when we talk about self-care or caring for our body is how we eat. And I do not want to say that you have to eat perfect all the time. I certainly don't do that, but I do try to listen to my body, eat when I'm hungry and not really eat when I'm not hungry. I try to incorporate a lot of healthy things into my diet to make sure that my body actually gets the nutrition it needs and not overloaded with sugar and fat and too processed products and things like that. So I think it really does show over the longer period of time how you eat. And I think I benefit a lot from eating a balanced diet and not just eating snacks and sweet things all the time. And I also try to drink enough water, and that's actually something that I'm struggling with a little bit because I don't really feel thirsty all the time or at all, but I think it would be important to drink the amount of water I drink or more, just to keep my body properly hydrated. I think it's beneficial for our skin, for our health, for our concentration, for just so many things. Drinking enough water is good, and I actually stick to water only. I don't really drink anything else. I don't drink coffee, I don't really drink tea, no soft drinks or soda or anything like that. Like alcohol, once a month or less, I think. Now, talking more about the things that care for my mental health or for just my inner self-care. And I think that's a very important part, especially because I think during the past few years I sometimes forgot to really take care of myself in that area, just because I was studying. I am a mom, I moved countries, I had to build up my life here, change every insurance and all these things, and it was just a lot to do. Search for an apartment, search for kindergarten placements, which is really, really hard here because there are not enough spots for kids to go to kindergarten, and so you have to be really determined to find one. And so there were a lot of things to do, and I did not really have enough time to actually take some time for myself. And so I did neglect prioritizing self-care a lot. I could not get enough sleep. I had to do things for university all the time. And even though I did not do something for university all the time, I at least felt like I should be doing something for university all the time. So I never had that feeling of like, it's okay, I can take this afternoon for myself. I don't have to do anything right now. I can just do what makes me happy, because I always felt like actually I should be doing something else. And so especially now, after I finished studying, it's so beautiful to just have a bit of extra time. And I hope you do have a bit of time at least as well for you, maybe a few hours each week that you can take to do something that makes you happy, that helps you go through the rest of the week without being too overwhelmed and stressed. And so I think one of the things is prioritizing sleep. Now that can look so different for all of us. And for me, I'm in a very luxurious position right now that I can sleep enough, I think. So I do get around 8 hours of sleep each night, and that is wonderful. And I know that's not possible for all of us, but that's something, I think sleep is something we sometimes feel like we are not allowed to sleep because then we are not productive enough, like we cannot afford to sleep in or things like that. And I think we should also prioritize sleep in a sense that if we are really tired and if we have the possibility to sleep for a bit, then maybe we should do that. Another thing that I love to do is actually journaling. Now, I'm not one of these people that journals every day or that has a routine or does morning pages or anything like that. A few years back, when I was a teenager, I did journal every day, and I filled up a bunch of journals with random things, and I think it was good for me. But now I more so prefer to maybe write down a few things once a month. And I usually reflect on how I'm currently feeling, maybe not in that minute, but more in that like week or month. How I feel, like where I'm standing right now, what I'm going for, what has happened, how I want to improve or change things, what I've like overcome during the past few weeks, things like that. And I usually just write down a few pages to get it out there. That is one part of it, and also to be able to reflect on it, like how my goals change. And once it's written down, it's very fascinating to actually see what it is that I want. And it really helps. That writing down process helps me realize what it actually is that I'm worried about, that I want to go for, that I want to change in my life, and things like that. And of course, there could be situations where I'm more stressed out, where it is helpful to actually like journal down everything I'm thinking. And usually then I go and talk to my boyfriend and tell him all of that, or I will go to my computer and write everything down in a document, because I don't really want to keep that later, or I don't really I don't have to put that on paper, even though I know a lot of people prefer paper because they think it's more helpful for them. Usually I just write down the things that are already pretty organized, like organized thoughts and not random thoughts and reoccurring things, and just the stream of conscious, the thoughts that I'm having each and every minute. But I do know that that is a powerful exercise as well that does help a lot of people. Another thing I love to do is going for walks. Now that is good for our bodies because we move our bodies, because it's healthy to be outside, get some fresh air, move our bodies. It's of course not a heavy exercise or anything like that, but it's still healthy to move more, because most of us are sitting around a lot and do not move our bodies, I think, enough so that it would be ideal for our health. But I don't think it helps anything to stress about that. But if you have the time, and what I've been doing during the past year especially is going for walks if I have time, and I think it's good for my body, and I also think it's really, really good for my mind. Now, I don't go on walks alone a lot of times, but if I do, usually it's great, because it gives me the opportunity to get into like a meditation kind of state of mind. I can't really meditate. Usually I'm just too restless and start thinking about things during trying to meditate, or I also couldn't really get into a practice of yoga. So I think going for a walk is like my preferred method of creating some stillness and some space to let my thoughts flow and organize themselves. So that's something that I talked about before with the journaling, that is really maybe something that would come out of going for a walk. Then I can organize my thoughts and later I can write them down and get even more clear about what it is that is on my mind currently. So when I go for walks, it helps me because I do not have the urge to like reach for my phone or to do something productive. But since I'm already moving my body, I think that helps figure out what I've been thinking about, maybe coming to a conclusion, also finding a solution or just having new ideas to approach something in my life. Also, when I'm on a walk, I usually have good video ideas or ideas how to go forward with my business in general, or I come up with solutions to problems, or I realize just areas in my life that I have maybe been neglecting or wishes that have come up, but I haven't allowed the space in my mind really to think, to appreciate, and to figure out how to incorporate them into my life. Another thing that I would consider self-care as well is reading. And of course, as I stated in a video before, reading is of course also consuming, because you're like kind of passively taking in a story of that another person wrote, or some tips and tricks and things they wrote if it's a non-fiction book. But I do think that consuming a book is super different from consuming social media or videos or movies or things like that. Because there is a more active part involved, because we read the words, and also because we do have to use our imagination, because we only have some black shapes on a white piece of paper usually. And so there is more active processes involved to actually read it, to actually make it our own, to actually take in what we have read. And the other thing is that it is just a lot slower. So reading is so much slower than any like online videos or things like that, just because we usually spend maybe 30 hours reading a book in comparison to consuming something for a second to an hour online. And so I do love reading also because it can teach us so much, because we can go in depth into the stories that are in these books. We can really get a grasp of maybe a concept the author is talking about, if it's a self-help book, if it's something like more scientific or something like that. And I think reading is just wonderful because it gives us the possibility to think and do something with something that we're really interested in. We can, sit on a couch, take time for ourselves, because we can read something that interests us, that we can learn from, that we can escape into another world. And so I think that is one of the best ways to consume something, because it gives us back so much. So reading is something I also really enjoy, even though I hadn't the time or did not prioritize it enough during the past few years, because I had so much to do. And with all of these things, I do totally understand if you do not have the time to do these things, if you choose different things to do as self-care things. And I also want to add that I think there are much more things that should be considered self-care. One of them being financial care, or caring for our body really health-wise, going to check-up appointments, going to dentist appointments, doing things like that. Making sure your apartment is kind of tidy, if it makes you happy, if it makes it possible for you to concentrate better, things like that. So I think self-care is really a lot more than these few little habits that we do to like make us feel happy. Because I think if we can reduce some stressing things around us as well, it would really help us feel happier, more fulfilled, more at peace with ourselves, and able to do actually what we want to do in this world. So if you want, you can of course check out all of my other videos if you are not a subscriber yet. I do have a lot of videos about minimalism, minimalist lifestyle, sustainability, things like that, that can of course also help to get to a more fulfilled and content life. But I think we all have to find our own journeys. And as I stated before, I think self-care habits can be really, really individual and personal. And we do not have to do what other people do, because these things might not make us happy. So I hope you did like this video and maybe could take 1 or 2 things out of it. If you have suggestions, leave them down below in the comments, and also let me know what your favorite self-care things are. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, because that would really help my channel. If you want to see more videos, I link you a video and a playlist right here that you can check out if you have the time and want to. And of course, I also hope to see you next time. Bye!